I told myself it was vintage. Cool, right? The first night, I slept fine. But by the second, I noticed something. The mirror, it didn't show my reflection properly. I'd walk past, and for a split second, I'd see something else. Not me, exactly. It was close, but not quite. The eyes were wrong, too dark, too aware. And it didn't move exactly when I did. Sometimes it was just a fraction of a second off, enough to make your skin crawl. At first, I blamed it on stress. New job, new place, too much caffeine. But then things got worse. I started waking up at 3:17 a.m. every night. No alarm, no noise, just awake, heart racing, and always facing the mirror. One night, I dared to look at it in the dark. You know that feeling when your gut drops out from under you? That's what happened. Because there was something standing in the mirror that wasn't in my room. It looked like me, but not. Its skin was pale, almost grey, lips too thin, and the smile god, that smile, it was wide and wrong, like someone who didn't understand what smiling really meant. It just stood there, watching me. I turned on the light, nothing there. The mirror showed only me, pale and shaking. I tried covering it with a blanket. It didn't help. Whatever was in there, whatever I'd let see, May didn't care about fabric. The next morning, the blanket was on the floor. The mirror was clean, almost polished, and someone had drawn a handprint in the center. Not mine. I told myself I was imagining things, that I needed sleep, but I knew the truth. I felt it. That thing in the mirror wasn't just watching anymore. It wanted in. I stopped sleeping. I even started recording myself at night. On the third night of footage, I saw it in me body rising from bed, eyes closed, walking toward the mirror, standing still for minutes. And then, smiling, the same smile it had. I moved out the next day. Didn't pack, didn't tell the landlord. I just left. Burned the key, slept in my car for a week, eventually found a new flat home without any mirrors. That was a year ago. But 2 nights ago, I stayed at a friend's place, crashed on her sofa. She had a small mirror across from where I slept. I didn't even think about it until I woke up at 3:17 a.m. and in the mirror, I saw myself smiling. But I wasn't. Moral. Some reflections aren't yours to see, and some things, once noticed, start noticing you back. The haunted forest where people disappear. For years, the town of Evershade had whispered about the forest on the outskirts. The locals called it Whisperwood, a dark, dense expanse of trees, so thick that even daylight seemed to struggle to break through. People went missing in there always without a trace, and yet no one could ever quite explain why. It was as if the forest claimed them. Jenna moved to Evershade a few weeks ago. A small town on the edge of nowhere, she thought, perfect for escaping her chaotic life in the city. It was peaceful, quiet, and just what she needed. But on the second morning after her arrival, the news came. Another person had gone missing in Whisperwood. The town's sheriff, a weathered man named Lawson, gathered everyone in the town square. "We all know the stories," he said, his voice steady but strained. "But this is serious. We can't let this happen again." Jenna hadn't planned on getting involved. She wasn't a fan of mystery novels or ghost stories. But something about Sheriff Lawson's haunted eyes drew her in. The town had a strange atmosphere. There was a heaviness to it, like everyone was carrying a secret they couldn't share. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jenna found herself standing at the edge of the forest, staring into its darkness. Her curiosity gnawed at her. She had to know what was really happening in that place. As she stepped past the trees, the air grew colder. A thick mist seemed to rise from the ground, wrapping around her ankles like cold fingers. The trees loomed tall, twisted, their branches contorted into shapes that almost seemed human. Her heart pounded in her chest, but she pressed on, drawn by something she couldn't explain. The deeper she walked, the quieter it became. The usual sounds of birds, insects, and the rustling of leaves disappeared, replaced by an eerie silence. It was as if the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting. She heard it before she saw it, a soft whispering. At first, she thought it was just the wind, but then it grew louder. Faint voices, indistinct, layered one over the other like a chorus of murmurs. Jenna froze, her feet rooted to the spot. The whispering grew clearer, and she could swear she heard her name. Jenna! She turned quickly, but there was no one there. She was alone. The whispering continued, only now it felt closer, more urgent. The ground beneath her feet seemed to shift. Panic rose in her chest as the trees around her started to sway, bending inward as though trying to trap her. And then she saw a figure half hidden among the trees, moving just beyond the mist. A woman, or what looked like a woman, draped in tattered clothes. Her face was pale, too pale, and her eyesore eyes were dark, empty pits. Jenna took a step back, but the figure moved toward her, faster than she could comprehend. The whispers grew louder, more frantic. They were no longer words. They were screams sanguished, pleading, desperate. "Don't look back." The voice clear and unmistakably echoed inside her mind. She didn't need to be told twice. She turned and ran, her feet stumbling over roots and rocks as she pushed through the mist, the whispers closing in behind her. The trees seemed to lean in, as if the forest itself was trying to swallow her whole. When Jenna finally broke through the forest's edge, she collapsed, gasping for air. Her heart was racing, her mind reeling from what she had just experienced. She looked back at the forest, now silent once again, its dark outline against the night sky. She wasn't the first to experience this, she realized. The townspeople had all felt it, the pull of the forest, the whispers that drew them in, the sense that something was waiting for them inside. And perhaps they had all heard the same warning. Don't look back. The next morning, Sheriff Lawson came to her door. He was as pale as she had ever seen him, his face drawn with fear. "You went into Whisperwood, didn't you?" he asked, his voice low and tight. Jenna nodded. "The ones who disappear. They never come back." "Not really. The forest takes them, and it keeps them. You saw something, didn't you? You heard it." She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The sheriff sighed deeply. "No one who's gone in has ever come out the same. Some come back, but it's never really them. It's like the forest. It feeds on fear, on despair. It doesn't just take bodies, it takes souls." Jenna stood silent, the weight of his words sinking in. "What happened to the others?" she asked. The sheriff hesitated, then spoke softly. They're still out there, somewhere. Those whispers you heard? It's them. They're calling to you, and if you're not careful, you'll join them. She couldn't shake the feeling that the forest was still watching, waiting. Whisperwood didn't just take people. It took everything. Their memories, their futures. And for those who ventured too far, it didn't let them go. Jenna knew she had to leave. The town, the forest, it was all part of the same trap. She was no longer safe here. And though she turned her back on Whisperwood that night, she couldn't shake the feeling that it was already too late. The forest had already claimed her, and when the whispers called again, she would be listening. Don't look back. She couldn't stop herself. The Hollow children, no one spoke of the winters in Asheville. Not really. They only hushed up when the snow fell and the cold howled through the hills like something alive. It always began the same. The first real storm would come screaming down from the mountains, drowning the woods in white. That night, one child would vanish. No footprints, no broken locks, just a door swinging in the wind, a bed empty, a toy left behind. The village never served. They knew it was no use. They only waited. 3 days later, the child would come back. But wrong. So terribly wrong. They would stand at the edge of town, barefoot in the snow, smiling with lips too dry, eyes too bright. And when the mothers ran to them, crying, begging, the children would laugh a hollow, papery sound, and the smell of dust would rise off their skin. You could see it if you were brave or foolish enough to look closely. Their chests didn't rise when they breathed. Their hands were stiff, fingers jerking like puppet strings. And sometimes, if the firelight hit them just right, you could see the sag of empty flesh where a heartbeat should have been. Inside, they were empty. No blood, no organs, just skin and brittle bone, as if someone or something had scooped them out and worn their faces like a mask. The old priest, Father Merrin, once tried to intervene. He stood at the village square and read prayers until his voice cracked and the cold stole the words from his mouth. The Hollow children only tilted their heads and smiled, slow and wrong, as if trying to remember what smiling meant. Father Merrin died that winter. They found him in the woods, face frozen in terror, his heart missing clean from his chest. After that, Asheville learned to endure, to accept. They dressed their Hollow children in warm clothes. They set them at dinner tables. They tucked them into bed at night and listened to the walls whisper with something too ancient, too deep to ever understand. Because if you ignored them long enough, if you pretended they were real, the Hollow children would eventually wander back into the woods come spring, slipping into the trees like mist. And sometimes, just sometimes, the real child would come back too. Changed, silent, carrying something in their empty hands that only the bravest, the most foolish dared to see. A shard of black glass, a piece of ancient bone, a whisper of the thing that waited beyond the stars, patient and hungry and full of teeth. Asheville survives because it knows the truth. The Hollow children aren't the real horror. They're just the first sign that the door is opening again. And something bigger, something hungrier, is already reaching through. The shadow figure that watches me sleep. I didn't believe in ghosts until one started watching me sleep. It started small. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, heart racing, like I'd been running in a dream I couldn't remember. There was no noise, no reason, just this feeling. Like I wasn't alone. The room would be dark, quiet. I live alone in a one-bedroom flat, 3rd floor. No roommates, no pets, just me. And yet I'd find things slightly off. My closet door half open, though I always closed it. The bathroom light on, though I never leave it that way. One morning, I found my bedroom window unlocked. I never open it. I told myself it was stress. Work's been hell, sleep's been worse, and let's be real. My diet is 80% microwave meals and cold brew. But then I saw it. The first time, I thought it was sleep paralysis. I woke up and couldn't move. My body was stiff as stone. Eyes wide, heart hammering, and standing in the corner half swallowed by shadow was a figure. Tall, thin, too thin. Its limbs were wrong, like someone had stretched them just a bit too far. It didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there, watching me. I closed my eyes. When I opened them, it was gone. Next morning, I convinced myself it was a nightmare. That's what we do, right? We explain things away. Brains love puzzles with simple answers. But night after night, it came back. It never did anything. Never spoke, never moved. It just stood there, like it was studying me, or waiting. I tried sleeping on the couch. It stood in the hallway. I tried keeping all the lights on. That just made the shadows deeper, darker. I bought a camera, set it up to record me while I slept. Next morning, I checked the footage. At 3:17 a.m., the video glitched. Static, then a frame of something tall and dark leaning inches from my sleeping face before the screen went black. When the video came back, I was still there, asleep. Nothing around me. I deleted the footage. I didn't want to know more. I told my friend Liam. He joked I should get a priest or a therapist. Maybe both. I laughed. Then I cried. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in bed, lights on, staring at the corner where it usually stood. It didn't come. For a moment I felt relief, until I blinked, and it was standing closer, near the foot of my bed. I didn't blink again. I stared, eyes burning, until they watered and twitched. I couldn't help it. I blinked. It was at the side of my bed. I stopped breathing. I could feel cold air brushing against my skin, like the room had dropped 10 degrees. My body wouldn't move. Not paralyzed, just terrified. It leaned in. Its facey or whatever passed, for it wasn't solid, just shifting blackness, like it was made of smoke and hate, its head tilted, like it was curious. And then it whispered, not words, just a sound, a long, low hum deep in my ears, like it was inside my skull. It felt like it was rearranging something in my brain. When I woke up, it was morning. I was under the bed, and my sheets were folded on top, perfectly made. I haven't slept since. It's been 5 days. Every night I see it. Sometimes I blink, sometimes I don't even have to. It's closer now. It doesn't stand in the corner anymore. It sits on the edge of the bed and watches me and waits. And tonight, I think it will touch me. The cursed village where no one returns. No one goes to Drowning Hill anymore. It's not on any map. There are no roads that lead to it, but people still end up there. Lost hikers, curious thrill seekers, the occasional van full of paranormal investigators. None of them come back. Jake Ellis didn't believe in curses. He believed in evidence. He had a podcast, paranormal mythos, and a steadily growing fan base who loved his blend of skepticism and dark humor. Drowning Hill was his big chance, the perfect mystery. His girlfriend Mara had called it before she bailed on the trip. But Jake went anyway. He had his cameras, extra batteries, a satellite phone, and enough granola bars to survive a week. He wasn't scared. He was excited. The directions were old, scratched into a Reddit post by someone calling themselves Whisper Ash. It read like a warning. Take the highway north until it ends. Walk past the stone with no shadow. You'll hear the church bell by dusk. Don't answer the children. Don't sleep near the well. Jake laughed when he read it. Now, standing in the fog that clung to trees like spider webs, he wasn't laughing. He found the village by accident. One blink, nothing. The next buildings, rotting cottages, all in a circle around a broken fountain. Crows watched him from sagging rooftops. One of them was missing its beak. There were no signs of life, but someone had lit a candle in a window. Jake spent the first night in the church. Half the roof was gone. The altar was scorched black. He set up his camera and spoke into it like usual, but his voice sounded distant, like it was already old. At 2:06 a.m., a bell rang. Jake froze. There was no bell tower. Then came laughter thin and high, like children playing tag in the fog. He remembered the post. Don't answer the children. Kids, he called before he could stop himself. Is someone there? The laughter stopped, just like that. Then came the whisper, right behind him. Found you. The next morning, Jake found the village had changed. The buildings were newer. Fresh flowers on the windowsills. Smoke in a chimney. A woman hung wet clothes on a line. She didn't look at him. None of them did. He ran to her. Hey, hello. Can you tell me where I am? She blinked. Slowly. You shouldn't be here. I know. I'm trying to leave. There is no leaving. Not anymore. Jake stumbled back. The village wasn't abandoned anymore, but it wasn't alive either. It was like the people were pretending, going through the motions of being human. That night, he woke to find the villagers standing outside the church, all staring up at him. They didn't move, just watched. Someone knocked, not on the door, on the roof. On the third day, Jake lost his gear. It simply vanished. One moment he set his camera down, the next it was gone. He followed the only sound he could hear, the splashing of water, the well. It stood at the center of the village, ringed with moss and black vines. The rope hung down, thick and frayed. No bucket. Jake leaned over. Hello? Something moved down there, slowly, upward. Eyes, pale and bloated. A hand reached up too long, too many fingers. Jake backed away, but too late. A voice croaked from the well, thick with water and rot. You asked. We answered. Hands dragged him down. Not just one, dozens. All cold and desperate, as if drowning forever and needing company. Weeks later, a new hiker stumbled into Drowning Hill. He found a camera lying in the grass, still recording. The last image. Jake, eyes wide, mouth open, not screaming, but smiling, as if he finally understood. People still talk about Drowning Hill. Some say it's a village caught between time and death, feeding on the curious. Others say it's not the village that's cursed, but the people who find it, because they were always meant to. The hiker who found Jake's camera, he kept walking, just to take a look. He never came back. But sometimes, late at night, you can hear him laughing. The demon that followed me home, it started with a dare. Just a stupid dare. We were drunk. It was my last week in university, and someone I don't even remember who said, "Let's break into the old Greylock Church." You've heard of it. Everyone in town has. It's the kind of place people joke about but never go near. Not really. The church burned in 1986. The roof caved in, the altar blackened, but the stone walls still stand, and so does the twisted spire. No one ever rebuilt it. They say it's cursed. We went in at midnight. 5 of us. Me, Ash, Dee, Mikey, and Dom. We climbed through a broken side window into the stale rot of old wood and ashes. The air was thick, not dusty, exactly more like oily. The kind of heavy air that sticks in your throat. We lit up our phones. The beam caught a scorched Bible on the floor, melted candles, and a strange red symbol on the far wall. Ash laughed and said it looked like something from a horror movie. Then Dom found the book. It was half burned, leather bound, pages like old skin. No title, just weird symbols inside. Dee said it was Latin, maybe. Mikey pretended to read it out loud. We all laughed. Stupid. Then Ash read something, really read it. I told her to stop, but she kept going. That's when the church breathed. I swear to God, the walls exhaled. All the candles in the place flickered back to life, glowing red, like eyes. Something shifted in the air code at first, then burning hot. We bolted. Everyone ran in different directions. I jumped out the same window I came in, fell hard, my jeans ripped, my elbow scraped raw. I didn't stop. I didn't even look back. That was 3 weeks ago. Now, something's with me. It doesn't show itself. Not really. It's more like something just out of sight. I hear footsteps in my flat when I'm alone. I lock the door, but sometimes it's wide open in the morning. My cat vanished. My reflection doesn't always move when I do. I stopped sleeping. At night, I hear it whispering from inside my closet. It knows my name. It knows what I did. Sometimes it says things I haven't told anyone, things I barely remember thinking. Dee's gone. Just vanished. Mikey's in a psych ward, won't talk. Ash? She hung herself last Sunday. The cops think it was guilt. I know better. There's something in my mirror now. A shape, always at the corner. Horns, maybe. Yellow eyes. It smiles when I blink. I tried burning the book. Didn't work. I tried confessing to a priest. The second I said, "Greylock," he told me to leave. Tonight I'm sleeping in the bathtub with the lights on. I've spread salt around the door. I've got a knife. I don't think any of it matters. It followed me home. And I think it's inside the walls now. Scratching, waiting. If you ever go near Greylock Church, don't go in. Don't even touch the wall. And if you hear something call your name from the dark, don't answer it. The haunted doll that killed its owners. There are some things you don't buy from a garage sale. Old shoes, half-used lipstick, or God help you a doll with glass eyes that seem to follow you even when you close the box. But that's exactly what Mark and Hannah did. They had just moved into a quiet suburb outside Detroit. Fresh paint on the walls, new baby on the way, and a little extra cash from Hannah's promotion. Life was good. Too good. One Saturday, they passed a faded sign that read, "Interstate sale, everything must go." The house was one of those crumbling monsters from the 1800s. Rotting shutters, weeds curling around the porch, and windows like tired eyes. But curiosity's a dangerous itch. Inside, it smelled like mold, mothballs, and something older. The kind of scent you don't smell, but feel in your teeth. That's where they found her. The doll. She sat in a wooden rocking chair in the corner of a child's bedroom. Pale skin, red velvet dress, one eye cracked, but the other staring straight through you. The old woman running the sale saw them looking. "You don't want that one," she said, voice like dry leaves. "She belonged to my sister, died in her sleep. The doll was in her arms." Mark laughed it off. "Spooky, but she'll look cool in the baby's room." Hannah hesitated. "It gives me the creeps." But they took it anyway. The first night. That night, they placed the doll on a shelf in the nursery. Mark swore it smiled when he turned off the lights. Just a trick of the shadows, he told himself. At 2:17 a.m., the baby monitor crackled. A voice, not a baby's, more like a whisper. "Play with me." They rushed into the room. The doll wasn't on the shelf. She was in the crib, curled beside their sleeping daughter. Neither of them remembered putting her there. They blamed each other, laughed nervously. But something about the doll felt wrong, like it was waiting. The accidents started small. The family cat was the first. Found it in the laundry room, spine twisted, eyes wide. The vet said it looked like it had jumped from a 10-story building, except they didn't live in an apartment. Next was Mark's hand. He woke up to find deep scratch marks across his palm. 3 long lines, like claws. Hannah said he must have done it in his sleep. He didn't believe her, because he had started locking his door. Things got worse. Hannah began hearing giggles when she was alone. Childlike, sweet, but coming from behind walls. One night, she found the doll at the foot of her bed. Its dress was soaked in something dark.